It was Christmas Eve in New York City. Snow fell softly outside, covering the streets in white, while warm golden lights glowed through the large glass windows of the Christmas café. Inside, everything looked perfect. Polished wooden tables, soft jazz music, the smell of fresh coffee and cinnamon rolls filling the air. This café was known for one thing. Only rich people came here. Business executives, celebrities, investors, people who wore expensive coats and spoke quietly about deals worth millions. And sitting alone by the window was one of them, Alexander Reed, a billionaire CEO, 42 years old, sharp suit, silver watch, a man who owned skyscrapers yet looked painfully lonely. He stared at his untouched cup of coffee, lost in thoughts he couldn't escape. Christmas had never been kind to him. Money filled his life, but not his heart. That's when the door opened. A cold wind rushed in. Everyone glanced up for just a second, then quickly looked away, because standing at the entrance was a young girl who clearly did not belong there. She was maybe 20 years old, thin, pale, wearing an old brown coat that had seen too many winters. Her shoes were worn out, her gloves didn't match, and snow clung to her hair. She hesitated. Her eyes moved around the cafe, at the decorations, the people, the warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. A waiter frowned. "This is a private cafe. You need a reservation." The girl swallowed. I just wanted to sit for a few minutes. It's very cold outside." Some people rolled their eyes. Others pretended not to hear. Alexander Reed watched silently. The waiter stepped closer. "Miss, this place isn't cheap." The girl nodded, embarrassed. Her hands trembled as she reached into her pocket, pulling out a few crumpled dollar bills and loose coins. "I can buy coffee, just one," she whispered. The waiter sighed, clearly annoyed. Before he could say anything else, the girl turned toward the empty chair across from Alexander's table. She looked at him. Her voice was quiet, respectful, honest. "Sir, are these seats only for the rich?" The cafe went silent. Alexander slowly looked up. For the first time that evening, his eyes truly focused on another human being. She wasn't asking for money. She wasn't begging. She was asking for dignity. He studied her face, tired eyes but kind, a face that had learned pain too early in life. "No," he said calmly, "they're just seats." The waiter froze. "Mr. Reed." "It's fine," Alexander said, not even looking at him. The girl hesitated again. "Are you sure?" Alexander pulled the chair back slightly. "Please, sit." She sat down carefully, as if afraid she might break something just by touching it. A few whispers filled the room. Who is she? Why would he let her sit? This place is getting ridiculous. Alexander ignored them all. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emily," she replied. "Thank you, really." The waiter returned reluctantly and placed a menu on the table. Emily didn't even open it. Alexander noticed. "You can order anything," he said. Her cheeks turned red. "I don't want to cause trouble." "You're not," he replied. After a moment, she spoke again. "Hot chocolate, if that's okay." Alexander nodded. "Two," he said to the waiter. As the waiter walked away, Emily wrapped her hands together, trying to warm them. "Rough night?" Alexander asked gently. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Rough life." He paused. "You don't have to tell me." "I know," she said, "but it feels nice being asked." The hot chocolate arrived. Steam rose from the cups. Emily took a small sip and her eyes closed in relief. "This is the best thing I've had all day," she whispered. Alexander felt something shift inside his chest. "Emily, where are you heading tonight?" he asked carefully. She hesitated. "Nowhere, really." He understood exactly what that meant. Outside, snow continued to fall. Inside, time seemed to slow. Emily looked around the cafe again. "It's beautiful here," she said, "like something from a movie." Alexander gave a faint smile. "It's just a building." She shook her head. "No, it's warmth and light. People forget how powerful that is." Those words hit him harder than any boardroom argument ever had. "Emily," he said quietly, "why did you really come in?" She took a deep breath. "Because tonight, I didn't want to feel invisible." Alexander looked at her, truly looked at her, and in that moment, he made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. But neither of them knew that yet, because this wasn't just a meeting. It was the beginning of a story the city would soon talk about. The Christmas cafe wasn't ready for her story. The cafe slowly returned to its usual noise: soft music, gentle laughter, the clinking of cups. But at the small table by the window, something had changed. Emily sat quietly, holding her mug with both hands, as if it might disappear if she let go. The warmth traveled from her fingers to her chest, and for the first time in days, she felt human again. Alexander watched her carefully, not like a CEO studying a contract, like a man trying to understand another person. "You said you didn't want to feel invisible," he said. Emily nodded. "That happens when people stop looking at you, when they only see what you don't have." Alexander leaned back slightly. "I get looked at all the time," he said, "but no one really sees me." She looked surprised. "That's hard to believe." "It's true," he replied. "People see the suit, the money, the name, not the man." Emily thought for a moment. Maybe that's another kind of being invisible. He smiled faintly. "Maybe it is." Outside, a group of people passed by, laughing, taking photos under the Christmas lights. Inside the cafe, time felt slower, quieter. Alexander broke the silence. "Where's your family?" Emily lowered her eyes. "My mom died when I was 16. Cancer. We couldn't afford treatment." "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "My dad left long before that. After Mom passed, the house was taken. I moved from couch to couch, sometimes shelters, sometimes nowhere." Alexander clenched his jaw. "And tonight?" he asked. She hesitated. "I was planning to sleep at the bus station." The words hit him like ice water. "That's not safe," he said. She shrugged. "Neither is being hungry. You get used to choosing the less scary option." Alexander stared out the window. He had slept in penthouses, private jets, luxury hotels. Yet here sat a young woman choosing between danger and cold. "How old are you?" he asked. 20. "I work when I can, cleaning, dishwashing, anything." "Why not ask for help?" he asked. "I do," she said quietly, "but most people don't hear." Across the cafe, a well-dressed couple whispered while glancing in their direction. A man at the bar shook his head disapprovingly. Alexander noticed. He felt something unfamiliar rising in him. Anger. Not at Emily, at the world. "You know," Emily said suddenly, "I almost didn't come in." "Why did you?" he asked. She smiled slightly. "Because the lights were so pretty, and I thought maybe tonight could be different." Alexander studied her again. There was something about her, resilience wrapped in exhausting, hope hiding behind caution. The waiter approached again, this time more polite. "Would you like anything else, Mr. Reed?" Alexander looked at Emily. "Are you hungry?" She hesitated, then nodded. "A little." "Bring us food, whatever she wants." Emily quickly shook her head. "Just soup, please." The waiter left. Emily sighed. "You don't have to do this." "I know, I want to." She looked at him. "Why?" He paused. Because he didn't know the full answer himself. "Because it's Christmas," he said finally, "and because no one should be alone tonight." Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them away. I used to believe Christmas meant miracles. Then life happened. Alexander nodded. Life has a way of doing that. The soup arrived. Emily ate slowly, carefully, as if it might be taken away. Alexander noticed how thin she was. How long has it been since you ate properly? He asked. She gave a small laugh. Define properly. He didn't laugh back. You're strong, he said. I'm tired, she replied honestly. There was a long pause. Then Alexander spoke, his voice lower. Would you accept help if it didn't come with strings? Emily looked at him sharply. What kind of help? A place to sleep, for tonight, somewhere safe. Her hands froze midair. I don't do that, she said quickly. That's not what I mean, he said firmly. No expectations, no favors, just safety. She studied his face, searching for something, anything that looked wrong. She didn't find it. Why would you trust me? She asked. I don't, he said honestly. I'm choosing kindness. The soup bowl trembled slightly in her hands. I don't want to be a charity case, she whispered. Alexander leaned forward. Then don't be. Be a guest. Silence stretched between them. Outside, church bells rang in the distance. Emily took a deep breath. Just tonight, she said. Just tonight, he agreed. Across the cafe, someone scoffed. Unbelievable, letting people like that in. Alexander heard it. He stood up slowly. The entire cafe seemed to watch. He placed his coat over Emily's shoulders. She's with me, he said calmly. No one spoke. Emily looked up at him, shocked. You don't have to. I know, but I will. As they walked toward the door, snow fell heavier outside. Neither of them noticed the man in the corner of the cafe, quietly watching and recognizing Emily's face. A man who would soon make everything much more complicated and much more dangerous. Because Emily wasn't just a poor girl seeking warmth. She was running from something. The girl everyone was looking for. The snow had turned heavier by the time they stepped outside. Alexander held the cafe door open as Emily walked into the cold night, his coat wrapped tightly around her shoulders. She clutched it with both hands, still unsure if this was real or something her exhausted mind had created. They walked in silence toward his car parked across the street. A black sedan, clean, quiet, expensive. Emily stopped. I can't get in that, she said softly. Alexander turned to her. Why not? She shook her head. I don't belong in places like this. You don't belong in the cold either, he replied. After a moment, she nodded and climbed inside. The car was warm, too warm. Emily's body reacted instantly, a shiver running through her as reality settled in. Alexander noticed. You okay? Yeah, she whispered. Just tired. The driver glanced at Alexander through the mirror. Home, sir? Alexander hesitated. Not home, the guest apartment. Emily looked at him, surprised. It's part of the building where I live, separate entrance. She nodded slowly, still cautious. As the car moved through the city, Christmas lights blurred past the windows. Emily rested her head against the glass. For a few minutes, there was silence. Then she spoke. You don't know what you're getting into, she said quietly. Alexander kept his eyes forward. Then tell me. She swallowed. I wasn't always homeless, Emily said. I had a normal life, school, friends, dreams. What happened? He asked. She exhaled slowly. I worked part-time at a tech startup, just answering emails. One night, I saw something on a company computer I wasn't supposed to see. Alexander's jaw tightened. What kind of something? Money transfers, fake charities, shell companies, millions disappearing. He said nothing. I took screenshots, she continued. I thought I could report it, do the right thing. And? He asked. They found out, she whispered. Alexander glanced at her, Her hands were shaking. "They said it was a misunderstanding. Then they fired me. Then someone broke into my apartment. My laptop was gone. My phone, too." The car stopped at a red light. "Did you go to the police?" Alexandra asked. "I tried, but before I could file anything, 2 men followed me out of the station." The light turned green. "She ran," she said. "I left everything behind. I kept moving, changing shelters, changing names." Alexander felt a cold anger settle in his chest. "That's why you're hiding," he said. Emily nodded. "That's why I can't trust kindness. It usually has a price." The car pulled into a private garage. The driver stepped out and opened the door. Alexander turned to Emily. "You're safe tonight." She looked at him. "You don't know that." Inside the building, the elevator ride felt too quiet. When the doors opened, Alexander led her down a short hallway to a small modern apartment. "It's empty, but it's clean. There's food, shower, bed." Emily stood frozen in the doorway. "This is too much," she said. "It's temporary. You can leave whenever you want." She stepped inside. The moment the door closed, she sank onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. "I didn't plan to cry," her voice breaking. Alexander handed her a glass of water. "You don't have to plan it." She looked up at him, eyes red. "Why are you doing this?" He thought a moment. "Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it." She waited, but he didn't explain further. "Get some rest," he said. "I'll have someone bring clothes in the morning." She nodded. That night, Emily slept in a real bed for the first time in months. But sleep didn't last. A nightmare woke her just before dawn. Men, voices, footsteps behind her. She sat up, breathing hard. That's when she heard it. A knock. Soft, controlled. Emily froze. The clock read 6:12 a.m. Another knock. She stood slowly, heart pounding, and moved toward the door. Before she could reach it, a voice spoke from the other side. "Emily Carter," the man said calmly. "We know you're in there." Her blood turned cold. She backed away, grabbing her phone. No signal. The door handle turned, then stopped. Outside, the man spoke again. "You don't have to be afraid," he said. "We just want to talk." At the same moment, Alexander's phone rang in his bedroom. He answered groggily. "Mr. Reed," his security chief said urgently. "We have a problem." Alexander sat up. "What kind of problem?" "Your guest. She's flagged, very high level." Alexander's heart dropped. "Flagged by who?" The line went quiet for a second. "Federal investigators," the man said, "and people who don't want her found." Alexander was already out of bed. As he rushed toward the guest apartment, one thought burned in his mind. Emily hadn't just walked into his life by accident. She was the reason danger had just followed him home. And the choice he made next would cost him everything. The seat was never about money. Alexander ran down the hallway barefoot, his phone still pressed to his ear. "Where exactly are they?" he demanded. "Outside the guest apartment," his security chief replied. "2 men, not law enforcement. We've confirmed that." Alexander's heart pounded. "Call the police, now." "Already done," the chief said. "But Mr. Reed, this could get ugly." Alexander didn't slow down. When he reached the guest apartment, he saw Emily standing in the living room, pale, frozen in fear. Her eyes met his, and in them, he saw pure panic. "They found me," she whispered. Alexander stepped in front of her without thinking. "I won't let them take you," he said firmly. Another knock echoed through the door, louder this time. "Miss Carter," the man outside called calmly. "We can do this the easy way." Alexander walked to the door and spoke through it. "She's not leaving. The police are on their way." A pause. Then a laugh. "Mr. Reed," the man said, his tone changing, "this doesn't concern you. Let the girl go and your life stays simple." Alexander clenched his fists. "My life has been simple for too long. Go, now." Silence. Footsteps retreated. Emily collapsed onto the couch, shaking. They won't stop. They never do. Alexander knelt in front of her. "You're not alone anymore." Minutes later, police sirens filled the street. 2 hours after that, federal agents arrived. Real ones. Emily sat at the table, wrapped in a blanket, while she told her story again, this time to people who listened. The screenshots she had secretly saved in an email draft, the account numbers, the names. One of the agents nodded slowly. "You did the right thing," he said. "This is bigger than we thought." As dawn broke, the truth came out. Emily wasn't just a runaway. She was a whistleblower. The tech startup she worked for was tied to massive financial fraud, money laundering hidden behind charities and Christmas donations. Powerful people were involved, dangerous people. Emily had been hunted for months. When the agents finally left, one thing was clear. Emily would be placed under protection. She stood by the window watching the city wake up. "So this is it," she said quietly. "I disappear again." Alexander joined her. "This time," he said, "it's to keep you safe." She nodded, but her eyes were heavy. "I never thanked you. For the cafe, for everything." Alexander smiled faintly. "You didn't ask for much, just a seat." She looked at him. "That seat saved my life." Weeks passed. The scandal exploded across national news. Executives were arrested, accounts frozen, headlines everywhere. Alexander Reed's name appeared too, but not as a suspect, as a witness, as the man who protected the girl no one else saw. Emily testified remotely, her identity sealed. When it was over, she was free. One quiet evening months later, Alexander returned to the same Christmas cafe. Same lights, same window seat. This time, he wasn't alone. Emily sat across from him, healthier, stronger, dressed warmly. She was starting college soon, a new name, a new life. "Funny," she said, looking around. "Nothing's changed here." Alexander shook his head. "Everything's changed." She smiled faintly. "You still drinking coffee you don't touch?" He laughed softly. "Some habits die hard." They sat in comfortable silence. Then Emily spoke. "That night," she said, "when I asked if those seats were only for the rich, I wasn't talking about money." Alexander looked at her. "I was asking if kindness had rules, if dignity had a price." He nodded slowly. "And?" he asked. She smiled. "Turns out, it doesn't." Outside, snow began to fall again, just like the night they met. And for the first time in a long time, Alexander felt warm, not because of the cafe or the lights or the season, but because he had finally learned what being rich truly meant. Not owning everything, but choosing to see someone. If this story moved you even a little bit, don't forget to like this video. It really helps more people find stories that matter. Subscribe to the channel for more emotional, real-life inspired stories like this one. Share this story with someone who believes kindness can change lives. And comment below, what would you have done if you were sitting in that cafe? Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes all it takes to change a life is offering a seat.